Okay, good morning. Welcome to
Family Math number 46.
Family Math number 46. This is the second video about the Koch square. The first one was Family Math 45. When we built our Koch square, remember we started with a square that was 3 on each side?
Yep.
And then we went to a square that was 1 on each side, and then 1/3, and then 1/9, and then 1/27, and then 1/81, and it gets really tiny really fast, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember the Dr. Seuss story about the cats? And you had little cat A and little cat B?
Yeah.
You remember that? Yeah, that's kind of what this is like. Alright, so we know what 3 plus 1 is, but what we're going to try to do is figure out how tall this thing gets. Because remember, it's happening on the sides too, but everything's the same. It's the same thing happening on the sides. We're going to try to figure out how tall this is. We know what 3 plus 1 is, because 3 plus 1 is
4.
Right. So what we really have to figure out how tall it is not what 3 plus 1 is, but what is 1/3 plus 1/9 plus 1/27 plus 1/81 all the way, etc. And it looks like these numbers get pretty small, right?
Yeah, it keeps getting bigger, smaller, smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller.
Right, it keeps getting bigger, but by a smaller amount every single time. So let's see if we can see a pattern in these numbers. So what's a good strategy for trying to figure out what a long sum is when it's really complicated and you're not quite sure what to do?
We could just do 1/3 plus 1/9.
Or how about even just start at 1/3? Okay. All right. What is 1/3? Does anyone know?
It's 1/3.
Oh, very good. 1/3 is?
1/3.
Low 5. Okay. Now we got to figure out what 1/3 plus 1/9 is. Okay.
Well,
You don't know how to do this, I don't think, but you know how to do this, right? What do?
you get a common denominator.
Okay. What's the common denominator here?
It's 9.
9.
1/3 is 3 9.
1/3 is 3 9s.
So this is 4 9.
Yeah, this is 4 9s. Okay. Can you say anything about 4 9s? About the number 4 9s?
It's kind of close to a half.
It's kind of close to a half. There's not much else that we can say about it. By the way, is it bigger than a half or less than a half?
It's a little bit smaller.
A little bit smaller than a half. Okay, so now we have 1/3 plus 1/9 plus 1/27.
Just 4 9s plus a 27.
Okay, very good. We already did 1/3 plus 1/9, right? So we don't need to add that up again. This is the same as 4 9s plus 1/27. And what do you do here?
You multiply by 3 over 3 to get 12 27ths.
12 27ths.
So you get 13 27ths.
Okay, so we get 13 27ths. That's our new number. Can we say anything about 13 27ths?
It still is kind of close to a half.
It's still kind of close to a half. Is it bigger than half or less than half?
It's a little bit smaller.
A little bit smaller than half. What would a half be, by the way?
Well, it would be 13 and a half 27ths.
What would a half be here?
4 and a half ninths.
What would a half be here?
It would be 1 and a half thirds.
Interesting. Let's do one more. 1/3 plus 1/9 plus 1/27 plus 1/81. What does that equal?
It's 13 27ths.
13
plus 1 over
27ths
81.
plus 1/81.
Multiplied by 3 here.
Okay.
3 over 3.
What is 3 times 13?
It's 39.
So we get 39 81s.
And it becomes 40 81s.
40 81. Okay.
Yep.
What do you see?
Well, it's like creeping closer and closer and closer to a half.
It's creeping closer and closer and closer to a half.
So if this goes on forever, maybe it'll end up exactly a half.
Okay, so we have a question mark. Does this equal 1/2? A 1/3 plus a 9th plus a 27th plus 1/81 plus ... Sure looks like it's getting closer and closer to a half.
Yeah.
Now, do you know why 4 9ths is pretty close to a half?
Because no.
No? Okay, well let's draw a picture. And let's make some 9ths. To make 9ths, first I'll make the thirds, and then I'll cut the thirds into 3. Now pretend those are all the same size, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 of them, right?
Yeah.
Now let's fill in the first. Well, if I was going to cut it exactly in half, I would cut it right like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah? So 4, when I fill in, if I color in 4 of them, that's a little bit less than a half, right?
Yeah.
But when I color in 5 of them, is that more than a half or less than a half?
Well,
It's more than half.
It's more than half. That's exactly right. And the other way you can tell, when you have 1/2, when something's exactly half as big, like 10 is half as big as 20, that means I can multiply 10 by 2 and I get
20.
Okay? So we need to check, is 4 more than half of 9 or less than half of 9? What do I get when I multiply 4 by 2? I get
8.
8. Is that less than 9 or greater than 9?
It's less.
It's less. So that means 4 is less than?
9.
Well, 4 is less than 9, but 4 is less than 1/2 of 9. Because when I multiply 4 by 2, I still get less than 9, right? Okay. So just with a little bit of looking around, it looks like we're going to climb up to be 1/2. Okay?
Yeah.
So I start with my little square. Remember, it was 3 by 3. Here's the middle of my square. Then I went 1 high. Then I went
1/3.
1/3 high. Then I went
1/9 high.
1/9, and then 1/27 and 1/81.
And all the way up.
And remember, this was 3 high to begin with. So, and this is all happening all over the square, right?
Yep.
Look at our picture from yesterday. So, if this was 3 high, how high is it from the center at the beginning? If the whole square was 3 high, how high is it from the center?
It's if the whole square is 3 high. That's 1 and 1/2.
1.5 high to begin with. Then I go 1 high, so now I'm at 2.5, and now I have a third plus a 9th plus
What's it 20?
and that. So this whole bit here just adds up to 1/2. So my whole square becomes 1.5 plus 1 plus 1/2, which is
1.5 plus, it's 3.
it becomes 3 high, and I get. Remember we said it was starting to look like a square. Our original square was 1.5 high. And our new square is 3 high to the corner. So we're going to have to figure out what the area of the new square is, and we're going to do that in the next video. Okay?
Yep.
But let's review real quick. We had this complicated sum that we had to add up. And we added up a few terms of it, and it sure looked like it was eventually going to get, it was always a little bit less than 1/2, but it was always getting closer and closer to 1/2, right?
Yeah.
So it sure looks like we're going to get to 1/2. Now we didn't prove that it gets to 1/2, but it sure looked like it was going to get to 1/2. Proving that's 1/2 is a little more difficult. So we're going to skip that for now. This is pretty neat, right?
Yeah.
We just figured out how big the Koch square gets. And in the next video we're going to calculate what the new area is. Okay?
Yep.
Alright, good job guys.